You're going to fail your fantasy football draft if you have the wrong strategy. Today, we're looking at the double HERO RB strategy to see if it's right for you, to see if we can win leagues with this or if it's going to be a complete failure. Before we dig in, though, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing player rankings on the weekly. We're helping you set your lineups. We're helping you find those waiver wire gems. It's all right here. It's free. Click that button. Stop missing out. But the double HERO RB strategy here, the goal here is to tap running back twice in the first 3 rounds, getting 2 stud running backs, and then slamming wide receivers while getting tight ends out of value, being very selective with them. This early in the draft, we're not really looking at quarterback, but you do you. But we want to be studly. We want to be anchored down at the running back position before we start getting into the middle round. We're looking at stud running backs here. We want to make sure we get 2 or more of these running backs. If not, we want to make sure we're anchored down well before we get to the middle rounds. And we're looking at the top 15 running backs. It could be more or less for you when it comes to your top running backs. And also when you look at your preferences, you're probably going to cut this list in half. But your goal in the first 3 rounds of your draft is to get multiple of these top-end running backs and mix in a stud wide receiver. Depending on where you're drafting, your selection of players could be vastly different. If you're drafting down the middle of the draft, like if you're team 6 in a 12-team league, just going down the board in ADP, your first 4 rounds could be rather interesting. Like it could be Gibbs, Bowers as a top-end tight end prospect. Then you get your other running back, maybe like a Chase Brown, and then you're hitting wide receiver like Xavier Worthy. Or you're double tapping running back, which I kind of like this build here. Gibbs, Taylor, which is a nasty combo. Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf. So you got wide receivers coming back at you with a high-end target share. It can get rather risky if the wrong wide receivers fall to you. Drafting on the turn could be very enticing, especially if you double tap the running back position. If you're drafting at team 11, 12, maybe even 10, and it could be different running backs. Here you got Henry and HN. But when you do that, you cause FOMO. You cause fear in other drafters, and they could start a run at running back, which could cause wide receivers to fall to you. If you're playing in a basic home league draft and you're playing with casual gamers, that's probably what's going to happen. If you're playing with veteran players, they're going to be patient, and you're probably going to have to strike at ADP. But ADP gives you JSN, Mike Evans in this range, plus some other wide receivers come back at you if there's FOMO driven. Maybe Adams, maybe Wilson, maybe Harrison Jr., maybe McLaurin, maybe a mix of those 2. That could potentially happen. Really depends on your league and really depends on the value of running back in your league. If they covet running back, there's a good chance that you might catch some values and also values down the line in the other rounds as you get deeper into the draft because there'll be FOMO at the running back position. Somebody's going to break. Somebody's going to pull it. And if other drafters are drafting running back heavy as well, then it's going to thin out the pool at running back where people are going to want to go wide receiver or it's going to drop wide receivers down to you and you're going to catch a few values. If you want to talk sexy, the start of drafts, going running back and then waiting to see what comes back to you in the second round is the play to make. Double tapping the running back position, Bijan, Saquon, and then combined with the Bucky Irving, then going wide receiver after that. That is sexy looking. But also, what is very sexy here, when you're drafting from the top, team 1, 2, 3, or 4, in your draft slots, Bijan, then a stud wide receiver like a Rashee Rice, coming back in the 3rd, and just taking that value at running back. There are good running backs in the 3rd round that can give you a good return on investment. Then you're slamming wide receivers with good target shares, good wide receiver 2s in range for you while you're anchored down good at running back. Rounds 5 through 9 are very interesting, and we got to strategize appropriately for them. There's one thing I hate, but we do got to slam wide receiver heavy. There's a lot of good wide receivers here. You're looking at it, and it's filling up the board. You got to be selective at tight end. You don't have to go quarterback here. But the one thing I hate is you're missing out on the running back dead zone. There's a lot of value here. I'm going to go deeper on this here in a few minutes. But look at these wide receivers in this range. Very talented group of wide receivers. And I want 3 to 4 of these guys. I want to keep nailing these wide receivers. At preference, you're going to cut this list in half, which you should do. You need to identify your targets. But there's a lot of value There's a lot of upside. There's good wide receiver twos in this range, and you can stack up to create good lineups. The wide receiver talent just keeps coming as you keep going down the board. It starts to slow down. It starts to get shallow while you get to that wide receiver 50 range, but there's a lot of talent here. Good wide receiver twos, good wide receiver threes, some upside, some guys you want to stash a little bit. You can strategize around this as you're looking at running back here in the future. I hate this strategy for this reason. I'm missing out on some of my favorite rookie running backs in the dead zone right now. Round 6, middle round range. Caleb Johnson, Trevion Henderson, RJ Harvey. Those 3 running backs have a lot of upside. One of those running backs are going to hit immensely. Another running back from that group is going to have a good run, and maybe we catch all 3 hitting hard. That's the thing about this. And we got good talented RB2s in this area. There is a lot of talent to look at, but the wide receivers in this range is vastly talented, and we're also jacked up at the top at running back where we can wait a little bit, but I also want that flyer in a lot of my leagues. Those rookie running backs that are higher priced. I want one of these guys, but with this strategy, it doesn't allow you to do that if you're following it to concrete. If you want to deviate, the reason why I would deviate is the RB dead zone, and I'd be very selective with the running back I do get from the dead zone if I'm trying to implement this strategy. Because when you're slamming wide receivers from rounds 5 through 9, things could also get a little dicey, but could be also very sexy depending on how you set lineups and if you're good at playing the matchups throughout the season. Round 5, Zay Flowers. Round 6, Godwin. Round 7, Patrick Mahomes if you want to go quarterback. Round 8, Pittman. 9, Keon Coleman. However, the back end of the dead zone where there's value, Travis Etienne, Tyrone Tracy, there's running backs to pick up. So those guys are there if wide receivers start to thin out, if there's a run at wide receiver. So that's something you may want to explore. But when you're looking at these lineups, it's to your preference. You're also anchored down good at tight end, which is rare. You're anchored down at running back, you're anchored down at tight end, and you can play the matchups here at wide receiver if you need to. Drafting on the turn with this strategy can be rather fun because you're hoping FOMO sets in, which is going to allow you to take value on a couple of your picks, which could create a nasty lineup for you. We're seeing that in rounds 3 for 4, but that could trickle down to rounds 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 here. But also, you're slamming wide receiver, and you're looking at Romo Dunze, Chris Olave, Josh Downs. You got upside plays, you got dependable plays, so you got a good mix of wide receivers there. If you're looking at tight end and quarterback, like you want to pay up for that, you got Dak round 9-ish, whatever you want, really, that's your preference. TJ Hawkinson or some other tight ends in that range. But remember, FOMO might set in your league, and you might catch some wide receivers at value, which could make this list of players here throughout your draft even sexier. But if you're drafting from the top, things could get rather fun here, especially if you go running back wide receiver, Bijan, Rashi, Brees Hall, DK, George Pickens, Debo, Ricky Pearsall. So you got upside, you got veterans, your quarterback, your tight end. Remember, the back end of this is the end of the dead zone. You might catch some values because now you're slamming wide receiver hard, which you might catch some FOMO in the middle rounds as some of these wide receivers are falling to you because you just gaslit some of the guys in your league to draft running backs. But in this area of the draft, you might catch some values on the comeback in the second, third round here at running back and wide receiver. If you want to draft a sexy team, you have to be prepared for this range of the draft. You have to be good at wide receiver because there are a lot of upside running backs. There's a lot of upside plays even at tight end and quarterback. You have to be good at wide receiver before you get to rounds 10 through 18 or 20. You just have to because you've got to take advantage of the upside running backs, those backup running backs that could get thrusted into a role due to attrition. There's just so many here that you need 2, 3, 4 of them, whatever you can fit. Also in the back end at quarterback, there's a lot of values here. It's going to be different from league to league, format to format. But one thing stays the same here. There's a lot of running backs to look at this year. Look at round 12. It's immense. You got talent there. You got upside. You got RB2s. You got quarterbacks that are cheap. You got tight ends that have upside that are at a value. There's a lot of good value here in the double-digit rounds. As we go deeper, there's even more running backs. And outside of ADP, running backs that are not getting drafted, there are still rookies like Krosky, Merritt on the Commanders, like Ollie Gordon on the Dolphins. That could be an upside play for you, and there's many more. This is a deep running back class here. You want to be in position where you're able to pound running back here in the double-digit rounds. You want to make sure you are loaded at wide receiver. Maybe it's most important to go running back, wide receiver to start and just slam wide receiver in the middle rounds. And dead zone, just be very strategic with it at the running back position because it's very deep with talent and you want to have a lot of shots in the dark at these running backs. Some of these guys are going to turn around for you. A lot of them aren't, but some of these guys are really going to climb up the board. Dylan Sampson's one of those guys. We saw attrition this weekend with Quinshon Judkins. You saw how quick he rose up. If that was in season, it's 10 times faster. So you got to be ready for that. Looking at the list of running backs here, there's just a ton of talent. From Isaac Durando, Rashad White in the middle, Trey Benson, Cam Scadaboo, an upside rookie. Braylon Allen, who got some good weeks last year, the part of the killer bees for the Jets. Austin Eckler is going to catch some balls out of the backfield. Jaden Blue is on an ambiguous depth chart there for Dallas. There's just so much. If I'm drafting down the middle, my first 15 picks could be glorious as I'm getting into double-digit rounds slamming running back. Charbonnet, Tootin, Shad White, Eckler, Jalen Wright, Rico Dowdle on top of the pack of wide receivers I got. I'm anchored down at running back, and I also got a stud tight end if I went this route with this strategy. This is what my lineup could look like in a basic league. I'm looking good at running back. Wide receiver is up in the air a little bit, but if I play the matchups correctly and maybe pull a guy off the waiver wire, and if Keon Coleman hits, which I'm not saying he will or won't, that's not part of the video, that I might be looking good, especially if Xavier Worthy takes a step forward. Brock Bowers, though, is an anchor at tight end, which is rare to have, which most teams will not have in this league. They won't have an anchor at tight end to help you get by. Then flex, you're looking good. You have a lot of options. On top of what you got down there with Rashad White and Michael Pittman, Eckler can be in that category. Rico Dowdle can be in that category. So you got players to pivot to when it comes to your flex and also can be buoyed up for other positions. Drafting on the turn is still fun. And you can just pluck the running backs at random. And as you get deeper, you can forget about ADP and get your guys. And also, if wide receiver starts getting a little iffy for you in the middle rounds, you can also pick up some stable guys in the back end of the double-digit rounds. Kind of did that here to give you a look. Scadaboo, Garando, Trey Benson, threw in Adam Thielen, Marshawn Lloyd, an upside play, Jarquez Hunter, just in case something happens to that backfield. But you have a lot of upside plays on this team. You have a good anchor there with two good running backs. You have a lot to look at here at wide receiver. You're good at tight end. You have a lot of plays here to set a lineup. This lineup's very interesting because you're anchored down at running back very good. You got upside at wide receiver, but you need some things that work out for you. That's for sure. Dak Prescott needs to work out for you and stay healthy. Tight end's looking solid. And then flex, you just have options here. Adam Thielen's a good anchor for you at wide receiver on the back end, and you got a lot of upside plays at running back where if one of those running backs hit, that's going to help you win your league, especially at the flex, and help you give some extra options there for your lineup. But wide receiver is going to be a question mark. So if you're feeling iffy at wide receiver, get a guy like Wandell, get an Adam Thielen there in the double-digit rounds, but make sure in good position, though, they cash in on these upside running backs. You can get some fun builds, especially in the start of the draft here, because when you're drafting in the first few draft slots, some players are just going to fall to you. Pickens, Debo, Pearsall, Mayfield, Travis Kelce. You can go upside wide receiver if you want. It's starting the double-digit rounds, which Luther Burden is a target for that. Javonte Williams, Rashad White, Jaden Blue, Wan'Dale Robinson if you need a wide receiver anchor on the back end. Braylon Allen. And if you have more picks after this, more upside running backs than this. When you're looking at this, this is a team that has a lot of depth to it and yet a lot of upside, a lot of lottery ticket plays that you could be cashing in. This might be the best lineup as I'm anchored down well at running back, almost to elite territory. Wide receivers, very good. My wide receiver 3 is George Pickens. I'm good at tight end. My flex is fun, and I got upside on the bench. I think if you play this correctly, you can definitely put together a roster that can give you good lineups week in and week out, and you got upside just in case injuries hit, or if you need upside for that flex spots, or if one of your players are lagging, you can move things around here. But again, if you can kill it at wide receiver in those middle picks and get a good anchor wide receiver with your anchor running backs, you're going to kill the draft. You're going to kill it. And then if you hit with those back end running backs, because the goal here is to anchor down at running back, kill it at wide receiver in the middle, and then kill it with those back end running backs, those lottery ticket plays. Hopefully one of those guys cash in and you're good to go. And the reason why we go double HERO RB here in these situations or with this strategy is to make sure we're good to go with top end depth, so we feel good about our lineups. And it's hard to cash in at running back with 2 picks in the first 3 rounds. But if the draft materializes correctly, you're going to have a strong team. There's a lot of things that could happen with the double HERO RB strategy. You're definitely going to be strong at running back. You might be deep at wide receiver, but you might not be. You might get gaslit into thinking you're going to be good in the middle of the draft, but next thing you know, they pick you apart at wide receiver and you're not looking good. That could wreck you, but you'll have less roster cloggers unless you get wrecked in the middle rounds. RB wide receiver start might sound like the best here because you're getting a stud running back, a stud wide receiver. You're at least going to be anchored down at the top. You can kind of make things work in the middle rounds at wide receiver as you're pounding that out. And then the back end lottery ticket running backs will fill in well. I want to be good at wide receiver before I get into the double-digit rounds. I think that's with all strategies. I want to be good at wide receiver. I think that's the main thing to take away here. I want to be good at wide receiver before I get to those lottery ticket running backs. The RB dead zone might kill you because you may not be able to get one of those good running backs. We have upside rookies and good RB2s at good values that could make good plays for you. That's a huge gamble. This draft strategy could also be a bad gamble because there could be a few guys in your league that just does not care about the player pool and just wreck the wide receivers in the middle rounds for you, take your targets, and next thing you know, you're good at running back. You missed out on some RB2s, and the batch of wide receivers that you've been targeting aren't going to be there, then that could wreck your whole draft. You might be too buoyed on the top end at running back to be able to recover from that. And being able to take those mid-round running backs might hurt you because they're at a good value and they can probably get you 80 to 90% of your RB2 anyways. That's something to look at. That's something to notice. And then on top of that, those lottery ticket running backs are there. One could pop, but you're so anchored down that you're good at running back. And if one of those running backs don't get hurt and you're log jammed at flex, then what's that really going to help you with? You need injuries for them lottery ticket running backs to help you out with. But again, this is a strategy to help you get to those lottery ticket running backs. And if one of those lottery ticket running backs hit, one of those rookies, those second-year running backs, that could be huge for your team. Overall, I look at this strategy as a little bit risky. I think you're a little bit too high at the top at running back. I think there's too much value this year. Last year, I liked it better because the rookie running back class was not near as deep. I kind of grade this draft strategy as so-so, maybe 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, something like that, where it's okay. If it comes to you at value, it's fine. I wouldn't shoot for it. That would be my recommendation. If I'm drafting early and I can go like a Bijan Rashi and get a stud running back that falls to me, cool. If I'm playing games on the turn, that sounds cool. Maybe catching some FOMO in a home league draft, but I'm not going to be shooting for this strategy too often. There is a good possibility that you could win your league with this. There's a million ways to win a league, but I think being able to tap running back in the middle rounds and being fluid there is going to help you out. But one thing I do know from looking at drafts, ADP every single day, you want to be good at wide receiver before you get to double-digit rounds. You do not want to be too heavily invested in running back to where you cannot take those running backs that fall to you in the middle rounds because that's going to happen. And you want to be good at those rookie running backs this year because there's going to be some of these rookie running backs that's going to hit. And there's more rookie running backs out there than that was listed in this video because they're not even getting drafted in most drafts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.